Wife missed our daughter's birthday to network in Vegas, came home with a bug bite, and now wears turtlenecks. I'm 27 male, in a fight with my wife, 28F. We've had fights before but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job is annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work/life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday, but my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd raincheck the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23M, was almost in every pic/video attached to her hip. In one pic he had his arm too comfortably around her emo. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something, but I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kinda brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite. But I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Update 1. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter, 4F, and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up. But I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed she hooked up with that coworker, 23M, on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, 57M. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from child, and the infidelity he put her mom, 55F, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly and how when she was growing up, my mill never addressed anything with her. I said her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mom, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My mill called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mill was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Update 2. Things have been a little chaotic with the new status quo after my wife's, 28F, affair, but I'm taking everything one step at a time. My wife and I explained the separation to our daughter, 4F, in simple, concrete terms and reassured her that we both still love her without going into the reasons behind the separation. Our daughter's always been an observant kid, but I don't think the separation has hit her yet. She doesn't see the difference between her mom not being home and her usual busy with work. During visits, she's more distant towards her mom and clings to me. My wife attempted to play with her on this toy set, but our daughter wasn't having it and shouted at her mom that she didn't want to play with her. The disconnect between my daughter and wife hurts in a way I'm still processing. I knew my wife's work/life balance took its toll. Pre-Vegas, we were supposed to be working on reconnecting, but just how fractured things are is a lot more apparent. Our daughter interacts very little with her mom and becomes quiet around her like she does with strangers. I feel at her age we, as her parents, should be who she's closest with and not this disconnected from her mom. Their dynamic is something I've been reflecting on. My main focus is making sure my daughter's okay through all of this. As far as between my wife and me, she's advocating for us to reconcile. She's expressed she wants to work on our marriage not solely for our daughter but because she loves me. Her rally cries for our relationship are still falling flat for me. I can't give her what she wants right now. I told her I wished she would have given herself these rallies before cheating. She's adamant about the affair timeline and what occurred with the coworker, 23M. They connected because she felt bad he wasn't fitting in. He kept flirting and treating her like royalty. It started feeling good on the rougher workdays. They had an emotional affair even though she didn't label it as such at the time. The EA turned physical during the retreat. She dissociated from her life back home while away in Vegas. She still swears they had sex only once. The hickey came from foreplay, and while giving her oral, he called her my nickname for her, which shook her out of it. She snapped at him about his immature attitude with the hickey and then kicked him out of her suite. She thought she could quietly end things and salvage our marriage. I asked her if she wore her wedding ring during sex with him. She confessed that she did. Knowing this hurts like hell. To me, our wedding rings were a physical symbol of our love, commitment to our vows, and our bond. She tarnished our rings. I haven't been able to wear mine. It never hurts any less. There are just new levels to the hurt. She admits to contributing to blurred lines. She's now changed her number and claims to have cut contact with a coworker. She reported the affair to HR. The company has suspended both of them while they investigate the extent to which the affair impacted the department. Coworker relations violate their policy, and it doesn't look good for my wife in terms of power balance since she was the guy's mentor. They're also calling into question if she gave him favoritism. Some have suggested I reach out to the coworker. I've considered it, but I'm not in a place to. I feel a lot of anger towards him. He knew exactly what he was doing with the hickey and nickname stunt. I wouldn't get anything from him except trouble. He's not worth it. I'm choosing to focus on my daughter. I've chosen to pursue marriage counseling. This isn't under the promise of reconciling but as an assist in working through this separation as healthy as possible for our daughter. I'm still numb in a lot of ways. I never thought this would be how my marriage and family turned out. I've seen it happen to others. I've heard stories. I thought I knew what it was like. But it's nothing compared to dealing with it yourself. I don't feel like the same person anymore. I don't know how everything will pan out. It's an uphill battle, but I'm trying to show up to the battle. Update 3. It's been about 3 months since my last update. A lot has happened, and I'm still taking things day by day. The marriage counseling has been both helpful and difficult. Our counselor is good at mediating our conversations and keeping us on track when emotions run high. My wife has been consistent with attendance and seems genuinely committed to the process. She's been doing individual therapy as well to work through her family issues and why she made the choices she did. Our daughter is adjusting to the new normal. We've established a routine where my wife visits 3 times a week. The first few weeks were rough. Our daughter would still be standoffish with her mom. There were tantrums and tears. But slowly, I've seen improvement in their relationship. My wife brings activities they can do together, and our daughter has started looking forward to these visits. Last week, she actually ran to the door when her mom arrived. It was the first time I'd seen that kind of excitement from her in months. Work situations have developed too. The HR investigation concluded, and both my wife and the coworker faced consequences. He was terminated for inappropriate workplace conduct and violating company policies. My wife received a formal reprimand and was demoted. She's on probation for 6 months, but she still has her job. She told me she considered quitting but decided to face the consequences of her actions instead of running from them. I respect that decision, even if I'm still processing my feelings about her continuing at the same company. My mill has been surprisingly supportive through all of this. She visits with our daughter occasionally and has been careful not to overstep or push for reconciliation. During one visit, she shared more about her own marriage and how she regrets not addressing my Phil's infidelity more directly. She thinks that's partly why my wife never developed healthy boundaries or conflict resolution skills. It doesn't excuse what happened, but it helps me understand the family dynamics better. I've had moments of weakness where I've considered taking my wife back immediately. There are nights when I miss her terribly, her laugh, the way she'd curl against me while sleeping, our inside jokes. But then I remember the betrayal, and the pain feels fresh again. I've started my own individual therapy to work through these feelings and to figure out what I want for my future. We had a significant conversation last month when my wife asked if I'd consider letting her move back home. I wasn't ready for that, and I told her so. She was disappointed but said she understood. What surprised me was that instead of pushing or getting defensive, she asked what steps I needed to see from her to rebuild trust. We had an honest conversation about boundaries, transparency, and expectations. For the first time since the affair, I felt like we were truly communicating. I've started dating myself again, in a way. I joined a local hiking group and have been exploring trails with our daughter on weekends. I've reconnected with some old friends who've been supportive without judgment. One friend in particular, who went through a similar situation years ago, has been a lifeline. He didn't try to tell me what to do, just listened and validated my feelings. The hardest part remains the uncertainty. Some days I'm convinced we can rebuild something stronger from the ashes of what we had. Other days, I wonder if I'll ever fully trust her again. The counselor says this ambivalence is normal and that I shouldn't rush the decision. My wife gave me a letter last week. She didn't ask me to read it in front of her, just said it contained things she wanted me to know. In it, she detailed how she's been reflecting on her choices and working to become someone worthy of trust again. She wrote about specific moments in our marriage that she cherishes and how she never realized what she was risking until it was too late. The letter ended with her saying she would respect whatever decision I ultimately make about our future. I'm still carrying that letter with me. I've read it multiple times, trying to gauge my feelings. There's a part of me that wants to believe in the possibility of redemption and healing. There's another part that wonders if some betrayals are too deep to overcome. For now, I'm focusing on being the best father I can be and on healing myself. My wife and I are communicating better than we have in years, ironically. Whether that leads to reconciliation or an amicable co-parenting relationship remains to be seen. I'm not rushing the decision. Some days are harder than others, but I'm no longer feeling completely lost. Update 4. My individual therapy has been transformative. My therapist helped me realize I'd been defining myself primarily as a husband and father, losing sight of who I am as an individual. I've reconnected with old hobbies, playing guitar again, hiking more regularly, even joining a recreational basketball league. These activities have given me space to breathe and remember parts of myself I'd forgotten. My wife has been doing her own work in therapy. She's confronted her family patterns more directly, even having several difficult conversations with her father about his infidelity and how it affected her. She told me she finally understands that while her upbringing influenced her choices, it didn't determine them. I'm not doomed to repeat my father's mistakes, she said during one counseling session. I made my own, and I'm responsible for them. We've had our first conversation about potentially dating other people. She became emotional, saying she wasn't ready to think about me with someone else, but acknowledged she had no right to ask me to wait. I admitted I wasn't ready either. The thought of being intimate with someone new feels overwhelming, but I also can't imagine never experiencing that connection again. We left it that we'd be transparent if either of us decided to pursue something with someone else. Last month, my wife asked if I'd consider a trial period of her moving back in, not to our bedroom, but to the guest room. She wants our daughter to have both parents under one roof again, and she believes we've made enough progress to cohabitate civilly. I'm conflicted. Part of me wants to try, for our daughter's sake if nothing else. Another part fears it would confuse our daughter more if it didn't work out. I told her I needed time to think about it. The wedding rings remain a painful symbol. Mine sits in my nightstand drawer. I noticed my wife still wears hers, though she moved it to her right hand. When I asked about it, she said, "I still consider myself married to you, even if you can't consider yourself married to me right now." The statement was both touching and frustrating, a reminder of how complicated reconciliation would be. My mill continues to be supportive without pushing. She watches our daughter occasionally and has become a surprising source of wisdom. Marriage is never just one thing, she told me recently. It's not all the good times, and it's not all the bad times. It's everything in between too. I'm still processing what that means for us. I've had moments of clarity where I can picture a future with my wife again, different from before, but potentially stronger in some ways. Then there are days when the betrayal feels so fresh that reconciliation seems impossible. The counselor says this pendulum is normal and that I shouldn't force a decision until the swings become less extreme. What's become clearer is that I don't want to make this decision out of fear or obligation. If we reconcile, it needs to be because we both genuinely believe we can build something better than what we had before. If we don't, it needs to be because we've truly tried everything and recognized it can't work, not because we gave up too soon. Update 5. After 6 months of living separately, my wife and I attempted a trial reconciliation. She moved back into our home, but stayed in the guest room as we continued with both marriage counseling and our individual therapy sessions. We established clear boundaries and expectations, focusing on rebuilding trust and improving communication. Our daughter, now almost 6, was cautiously excited to have her mom back home. The time apart had actually helped their relationship in some ways. My wife had become much more intentional and present during their visits, and our daughter responded to that consistency. Still, there were adjustment periods and difficult moments as we navigated our new family dynamic. The marriage counseling revealed deeper issues than we initially recognized. Our counselor helped us identify patterns that had been present long before the affair: my tendency to internalize stress rather than communicate it, my wife's workaholic tendencies as a response to her family history, and our mutual failure to prioritize our relationship amid life's demands. While none of this excused the affair, understanding these patterns was crucial for both of us, regardless of whether we stayed together. My wife's commitment to making amends was consistent and genuine. She followed through on everything she promised, maintaining transparency about her whereabouts, continuing her therapy, and taking full responsibility for her actions without excuses. She formally resigned from her position after the HR investigation concluded, choosing to make a fresh start professionally rather than continuing in an environment that held so many negative associations. The most significant moment came during a session when our counselor asked us both what we wanted for our future. My wife expressed that she wanted to rebuild our marriage into something stronger than before, based on honesty and mutual growth. When it was my turn to answer, I realized I had been avoiding this question for months. After much reflection, I told them both that while I valued the progress we'd made and would always care for my wife as my daughter's mother, I couldn't see myself fully trusting her again in the way a marriage requires. The affair had fundamentally changed how I viewed our relationship, and despite all our work, I couldn't recapture what we had lost. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to say, but it was also honest. My wife was devastated but said she respected my decision and thanked me for giving reconciliation a genuine attempt. We agreed to transition to a co-parenting relationship, focusing on providing stability and love for our daughter. We've now been officially divorced for 3 months. The process was as amicable as possible under the circumstances. We share custody of our daughter, with a schedule that prioritizes her needs while giving both of us meaningful time with her. My ex-wife has found a new job that allows her more flexibility to be present for our daughter, and she's continuing her therapy work. As for me, I've started dating again recently, nothing serious yet, but it's been healing to remember that connection and trust are still possible. I've also rediscovered parts of myself that had been neglected during the marriage and its aftermath. The hiking group I joined has become an important part of my life, and I've even started teaching our daughter some basic guitar. My relationship with my former in-laws remains respectful. My mill has been supportive of both of us and continues to be a loving presence in our daughter's life. She told me recently that while she's heartbroken about our marriage ending, she understands my decision, and respects the thoughtful way we've handled the transition. The wedding ring that once sat in my nightstand drawer has been put away in storage. I'm not ready to part with it completely, it represents an important chapter of my life, but I no longer need it as a daily reminder of what was lost. There are still difficult days. Our daughter occasionally asks why we can't all live together again, and those conversations never get easier, but she's adjusting well overall, and we're both committed to ensuring she feels secure and loved. I don't regret giving reconciliation a genuine attempt. That process gave me clarity and allowed me to make my decision from a place of careful consideration rather than raw pain. While our marriage couldn't be saved, the work we did helped us transition to a healthier co-parenting relationship than would have otherwise been possible. If there's anything I've learned through all of this, it's that healing isn't linear, and there's no perfect resolution to betrayal. Each person has to find their own path forward. For me, that path led to ending our marriage, but it also led to a deeper understanding of myself and what I need in a relationship.